Hi friends, it's Julie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with part 2 of my really big book haul video for you guys. And even since I filmed part 1, I bought a few more books, which sounds crazy. But in my defense, I didn't spend like any of my actual money. I got a little bit more birthday money, so of course I bought a few books that I still just wanted. I mean, it's like free books. And there was another library sale that I took my daughter to because she was looking for a few chapter books, and they had just like a couple ones that I really wanted. So I only spent like $6 on myself. So like I said, I'm gonna cut myself a little bit of slack, but I'm definitely going on a book buying ban. I don't need to buy any more books. But anyway, let me just tell you what I have collected. So the first two are ones that I bought for my book club because I couldn't get them through the library, and we are doing an erotica month next month, which is something we have never done before, but it sounded fun and everyone wanted to do it. I love my book club. We are just fabulous. But anyway, so I have two erotica books here to show you, and the first one is Backstage Pass by Olivia Cunning. This is about this rock band that goes on tour and this woman who goes on tour with them, and then lots of fun, sexy time happens. I haven't read this yet, but I've heard that it's pretty hot, so I will report back once I finish it. And then the other one I have is Wallbanger by Alice Clayton. I'm just really loving the cover here of this book. But this is about a woman who moves into a new apartment, and every night she hears her neighbor, who is this man, just having sex every night. And one night she just gets fed up, and so she goes over there, you know, to kind of tell him off. And I guess there's just lots of sexual tension between them, and things just kind of go from there. I don't know, I'm really loving this cover, so I'm thinking it'll probably be a pretty fun read. I guess we will see. I don't typically read a lot of books like this, so it should be a fun month. And then the first book I bought with my new birthday money was Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I've been wanting my own copy of this because I checked it out from the library, and this is the edition I have been looking for. It's like the World Cloud Classics. I just love these. I read Persuasion in this style, and I just loved it. It feels like, I don't know if you've ever touched them before, but it's like a kind of like a rubber or something. It's so soft, like in your hands. I just love it. And the inside is just absolutely beautiful. I'm so happy I found this. I actually found these at Costco. My Costco had a ton of classics in this edition, you know, just in case you're looking for them. I don't know if they're still there, but they were a couple weeks ago. And then the next two I already mentioned in my last check-in video, so I will link to that up above. But they are Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire and Down Among the Sticks and Bones. This is book 1 and 2 in the Wayward Children series, and I've already read the first one and loved it, so I immediately bought myself a copy after I finished it because I checked it out from the library. And then I went ahead and bought book number 2 because I need more of these characters. I loved this so much. These are just my kind of books. And then another book that I bought for my birthday was The Child Thief by Brom. Now this is a very dark Peter Pan retelling, has like some horror elements to it and stuff. And I read this in 2015 and I absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite books of the year. I just never bought myself a copy, and so I decided, since I had a little bit extra money, that I was going to. And inside of it are these beautiful illustrations. Brom is an artist, and he's done stuff for like different video games and like Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. And he just there's like so much art inside of this, even at like the beginning of chapters and just different things. I'm just so excited to finally own a copy of this, and I highly recommend this if you are into really dark retellings. I would definitely recommend picking this up. I don't ever hear anyone talk about it, but on the rare occasion that I do, everyone has always really loved it, and so did I. And then another book I found at the library sale was The 12 by Justin Cronin, and I haven't read The Passage yet. I own it in a hardback edition, but I haven't read it yet. And so when I found this one at the sale, I knew I had to buy it because it's a hardback book, and it was only $2. This is a series that I really want to read. I have so many of those, I know, but I feel like when you get really good deals on the books, like if you plan on reading them, then you have to buy them. So I did, and I will get to this series at some point. Okay, now moving on to the mystery and thriller portion of this video. And the first one I have is Season of the Witch by Natasha Mostert. It says, enter a world of beauty and darkness. And I just randomly found this at the library sale. I thought the cover was absolutely beautiful. and it has witch in the title, which you guys know I'm a sucker for anything having to do with witches. And I know that this is like a gothic thriller about two sisters who are witches, and somehow they get caught up in like a love triangle or something along those lines. It was beautiful, it sounded good, and I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. It actually has really good reviews on Goodreads too, so that is definitely a plus. Then next, I have a copy of The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. And this is actually one of Katie from Life Between Words, one of her favorite books of all time. And Katie is such a good friend of mine that when I saw this at the library sale, I knew I had to pick it up. And it's in one of those like awesome, huge, floppy paperbacks. This is a mystery, I believe, surrounding the building of a cathedral, which doesn't sound like it would be super intriguing, but Katie said it was a page turner, so I'm kind of excited to read it. A little intimidated, but excited. So I'll let you guys know what I think when I finish it. And then this other one I just kind of picked up on a whim, and that is I Love You More by Jennifer Murphy. I've never heard anyone ever talk about this book, but it sounded kind of interesting. It's about three women who all discover they are married to the same man. They had no idea about each other. He was just living all of these different lives. Some of them even have like families. And the women find out about each other, and then they decide that they're going to plot to murder him. Now, I'm not sure if this is a mystery or suspense. It was in the mystery section of the library sale, so I guess we'll see, and I'll let you know. And then this next book was actually a pretty popular book a few years ago, and that is Luckiest Girl Alive by Jessica Knoll. I didn't read this when it was all like super hyped. It was a pretty hypey book a few years ago, but I know that it's pretty polarizing. Like people either really enjoyed it or they didn't so much. And I'm always really intrigued by polarizing books, so I saw this at the sale for like $1 and decided to pick it up. The only thing I really know about this book is it's about this young woman who appears to have like, you know, like the perfect life, appears to have all of her shit together, but in reality, she doesn't, and she's hiding some secrets. That's all I really know. But I'm excited to check it out. I'll probably read this at some point this summer. It seems like a summery read. And then the last mystery I have is Snow Angels by James Thompson. And this is a book that I heard Rachel from the Shades of Orange mention on her channel, which I get so many recommendations from her. I love all of her recommendations, but she said this is a pretty dark mystery, so of course, hearing the word dark, I had to pick it up, and then I found it at the library sale for like 50 cents, so it just was meant to be. Now this one I'll probably save for the winter time because it's set around the Arctic Circle and around Christmas, so it just seems natural that I will read it in the winter. But it's about a woman who's found like brutally murdered, and this Inspector Vera, this is an Inspector Vera novel, or however you pronounce that. But so I think this is the first book in a series, but he is sent to, you know, figure out what happened to this woman. It says, it will be a challenge in a place where ugly things lurk under frozen surfaces and a silence is a way of life. So, sounds pretty interesting, and if Rachel really enjoys it, then chances are I probably will too. So up next, I have How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents by Julia Alvarez. And this book, I have heard Stephanie from That's What She Read mention multiple times on her channel, and she's really, really enjoyed it. I believe this is like a short story format of a book, and it's about these four sisters who are from the Dominican Republic, and they moved to New York City in like the 1960s, and they just kind of, you know, it's about them assimilating, you know, into the American culture. That's all I really know about it. But Stephanie, like I said, really enjoys this book. So when I saw it at the library sale, I knew I had to pick it up. And then another book, actually, that Stephanie has recommended on her channel is Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. Now, when I first picked this up, I picked it up because I knew Stephanie had really enjoyed it, and the idea of the story that I remembered her talking about sounded really interesting. It's about a woman that has to like keep reliving her life like over and over again. But one aspect that I didn't know about it when I bought it until I got home and was reading is that this is a World War II, I believe, historical fiction novel, which if you've heard me mention at all, I'm not the biggest fan of World War II historical fiction, which I know is very, very unpopular, especially here on BookTube. So I'm a little nervous now to pick this book up. But if you've read this and really enjoyed it, please leave me a comment down below, and then maybe I won't be as worried about picking it up. Then up next, I have The 19th Wife by David Ebershoff, and this book just sounds so interesting. It has multiple timelines, which I love in a book, and the first one is set in 1875, yes, 1875, and it follows a young woman named Anne Eliza Young, who is one of the many wives of the Mormon prophet Brigham Young. And she decides to leave the church, leave her marriage, and goes kind of on this crusade to end polygamy in the United States. So that's like one timeline. Then the other timeline is following this man named Jordan Scott, set like in present day, and he has been kicked out of the Mormon church. And then he discovers that his father has died, and so he tries to go back and tries to figure out what happened to his father. Now, I'm not sure how these two timelines cross, but I'm sure that there's some sort of connection there. And it just sounds really good, has really good reviews on Goodreads, and I'm very much looking forward to picking this one up. And then the last book I have before getting to nonfiction is The Moonflower Vine by Jetta Carlton. And this is a book set in Missouri, which is very close to my home state. And it's just like a family saga. It follows these parents and their 4 daughters. And it says, Jessica will break their hearts, Leonie will fall in love with the wrong man, Mary Jo will escape to New York, and Wild Child, Matthew's fate will be the family's greatest tragedy. So this book just kind of spans decades and covers this whole family story, and it just sounds really good, and I'm excited to pick it up. Then up next I have a book that was super popular a few years ago. I believe this came out in like 2012, and that is Wild from Lost and Found on the Pacific Crest Trail by Cheryl Strayed. I've wanted to read this book for years, and for some reason I just never picked it up. I haven't even seen the movie with Reese Witherspoon, so I can read this and then watch the movie. I'm also a sucker for anything that has to do with like hiking, and especially like the Pacific Crest Trail. I just think it's so amazing that people hike that. I actually knew these 2 guys from my high school that did it, and it's just kind of something that I wish that I would have done before I had kids. I think it would have just been really incredible. So instead, I'm just going to live vicariously through other people. Then I have a book that I heard about on the What Should I Read Next podcast, and that is Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight, An African Childhood by Alexandra Fuller. I don't know too much about this book. I just remember hearing them talk about it on the podcast, and I thought it sounded really interesting. It's just about this woman and her family growing up in Africa. And at the very beginning of this book, like the very first few sentences, her mom is telling her, don't come into our room in the middle of the night and startle us. We might shoot you, because they sleep with guns, loaded guns next to their bed, and just sounds really interesting. So yeah. And now this one was kind of a cover buy, but then I discovered that one of my really good friends was reading this actually at the time and really enjoying it. And that is The Monster of Florence, A True Story by Douglas Preston. And this is about a serial killer who murdered all of these couples in Italy, and he was never found. He was just known as the Monster of Florence. And I enjoy things that have to do with serial killers. So yeah, this one sounds pretty good, and I absolutely love the cover. And then the final book I have is Stiff, The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers by Mary Roach. And I've heard pretty good things about Mary Roach's other books, so I'm hoping that this one is pretty good too. I hear that she's supposed to be kind of funny, which is nice. Kind of reminds me of when I read The Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory by Caitlin Doughty. She had a really good sense of humor, and I feel like when you're dealing with subject matter like death and bodies, things like that, it's just kind of refreshing to have that little bit of comical relief. So I'm hoping that this one is pretty good, and I'm going to try and pick this one up pretty soon, because I just have a little bit of morbid curiosity in me, and so I'm always interested in things like this. And I actually used to want to go to school to be one of the people who performed autopsies. I always thought that would be so cool. I blame it on CSI and stuff like that. They kind of fantasize all of those professions, but those are all of the books that I have collected over the last few months. It's a ton, I know, but please leave me a comment down below and let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought about them. But I think that's it for the day, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all again very soon. Happy reading. Bye.